Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
That's how I ended up going from elementary school to teaching high school.
Wow.
So I have my elementary credential and also have my high school credential.
So what precipitated, so the move from elementary to high school was digital media?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you coaching the whole time?
Yeah, so no, wasn't coaching at all.
Okay.
In fact, Rob Gilster, my high school football coach at the time, Valley Center High School had just opened.
Okay.
And said, why don't you come coach with us? I said, no, I'm not interested in coaching. I'm done coaching.
Why?
Because I never coached before,
Okay.
in high school level.
So you played?
I played.
Okay.
But I just wasn't interested in coaching. And so I said, no thanks, I'll come shoot your videos at your games on Friday night. So my first year teaching high school,
You were the videographer?
I was the videographer.
Wow.
I was shooting the end zone camera stuff, I was shooting the sideline stuff, I was just making highlight videos and teaching digital media on campus. So we would do our morning announcements, just having so much fun with high schoolers for the first time. But then year two, he came back and said, would you come out and help us coach? I said, well, I'll try it for a year. And Mike, to be honest with you, I was miserable. I didn't like it.
I have the hardest time imagining, knowing you as well as I do. Now, we've known each other for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Or over 3 years.
Yeah.
I have the hardest time imagining you not coaching. I would think that it would be.
Yeah.
So take us through that for just a second, because there are people out there that are going to listen to this.
Yeah.
And they're struggling with the same kinds of issues. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, take us through this process. So you go and you film for a year.
Mm-hmm.
He asked you again a second time, right, to coach. You do it for a year and you don't like it.
And we win the championship. I mean, that's the first championship the school had ever won. We won the title. We're at the Murph at the time. Remember?
Right. Yeah.
Went from the Murph to Qualcomm, and now it's called Snapdragon, I think now, whatever it is now. But so we get out there, we win the championship. And honestly, it goes back to that experience I had as a 9-year-old.
Okay.
Saying that my identity is the minutes I play, the points I score, and the results of the scoreboard. It was a culture that wasn't awful, but it just wasn't something I wanted to be around as a Christian man at that time in my life, because it reminded me about winning at all costs. I mean,
Gotcha. So the culture of the team.
The culture of, and I wouldn't say it was the team. It's just what high school football has always been, and it's always you're 6-hour days. You got film on Saturdays. You're missing time with your family. The culture is all about preparing and winning,
right?
And
at all costs.
At all costs.
Yeah.
And so to that point, I just didn't like that aspect of it, and didn't want to do it longer. But my wife, oddly enough, at that time, loved the football, Friday Night Lights, the community, the friendships.
She still does, by the way.
She does, yeah.
Okay.
She still does. Yeah, that's very much true.
Very few people at our games are more fired up than your wife is.
Yeah, she does. She
tries to hide it.
I would say my daughter's more fired up than my wife nowadays. So, but with that said, I just remember getting in the season and thinking, boy, there's a lot of work, a lot of time. And it just reminded me of those wounds of my childhood that said I had to be win to be worth value. And so I was really struggling with my faith and what competition looked like. And so as those years went on, I came back for another year. We won back-to-back titles, CIF titles. So now I'm not coaching anymore. My wife's like, sure, we'll see after the summer. Came back and coached the third year, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year. We had been in the championship game 7 out of 8 years. We won 5 titles in 8 years. So keep in mind, this is my first experience out the door. We're winning like left and right.
Right.
And then there's something missing, Mike, in my life and in my faith. It was almost like I would put on my faith hat on, Sundays to go to church. And I love Jesus through this process. You don't hear that. But when it came to, Monday through Saturday, it was all football. And I believe idols in our lives or anything anything or anyone we love more than God. And so at that point, that's what that experience was like. We had to win. We had to put all this time and this energy and effort in. And at the cost, it was 2011, excuse me, where we went to this marriage retreat, my wife and I did, with Focus on the Family in North Carolina at the Cove in Asheville. It's Billy Graham Retreat Center. And in Asheville, Greg and Erin Smalley had us go back to our rooms and assess our marriages. So I'm giving my wife 5 out of 5s, because if you met my wife, I wouldn't say she's perfect, but she's perfect. My wife is
I've met your wife.
Phenomenal.
She's got to be as close to perfect as anybody I've ever met.
So I'm giving her these high scores, right? And then my wife is giving my scores 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5. Not present with the home, with my kids. Not present with her. Short-tempered, angry, And all these things were a realization that I'm like, what am I doing? I'm winning all these titles, like we said, but I'm losing my marriage. And so I remember sitting in my room, and on my desk I had a book called Inside Out Coaching by Joe Ehrmann. And I opened it up to chapter 5. It was after the 5th title at Valley Center. We just won the game. That I remember reading this. He has 4 questions. He says, why do you coach? Okay, to win games right now. That's why I'm coaching. He says, why do you...
That's your identity, right?
My identity.
It's tied to those numbers.
That's right. Why do you coach the way that you do? Well, because we got to win. And then he says, how does it feel to be coached by you? And then that's when the light bulb went on. I'm like, I'm not really building relationships with kids. I'm just coaching them so they can perform on a Friday. I'm producing miniature Jon 9-year-old Goodmans. Go win, go win, go win. And that's where
here's your identity, here's your identity, here's your identity.
And then I started to realize I'm the problem. It's not the games, it's not the winning and losing. It's that I'm teaching kids to be me at 9, that they got to win, because that's where their identity is at. And then it said the 4th question was, how are you going to measure success? So over the next 6 months, I started really wrestling with these questions. And so I started studying through curriculum. Joe Ehrmann's Inside Out Coaching was a book I read from beginning to end. Season of Life by Joe Ehrmann. Jeff Duke wrote a book called 3D Coaching. So all these books I just started dealing and diving in. Tony Dungy, Uncommon.
Love that guy.
Yeah, great man. And so I started realizing, hey, wait, we can do this differently. So it's about a 3-year process. So I get to 2014, and I get my opportunity to be a head coach for the first time in my career. Now I'm going in my 10th year of head coaching here at Escondid Charter. And now 10 years of doing the head coaching deal, you can drastically change culture. When I came here to Charter, there were 13 kids in the program. Watching the program go from 13 kids to last year we had over 90 kids in the program, right? And this year we're about the same number. So that's the point I started figuring out. If we can be transformational in the lives of an athlete, if you can teach them the X's and O's with excellence, because you got it. They came here to play football, so you got to be great at the X's and O's. And that honestly comes from time doing it, and honestly, you just study the game and you'll learn it with time. And truthfully, you can Google a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube nowadays, and you can find out how to stop wing T, or you can find out how to run an RPO. So there's so much information on the X's and O's nowadays. Even for young coaches, they can just go out there and find the information. But you got to be great at the X's and O's. The second thing I discovered is you got to understand how to motivate well, because you can't punish a kid for a motivational issue with a X's and O's solution. So oftentimes a kid will come to practice late, coach will say, go run a lap. Well, that's not a physical, that's a motivational issue with the kid. So what you start figuring out, why were you late? Well, if you ask that question to kids, you're gonna get amazing answers. One, they're gonna say, Coach, I messed up. I didn't set my alarm and I came late to practice. But most of the times I find that, Mike, that you find some kid, why were you late today? You pull them aside one-on-one. You start finding out, well, my parents are having an argument at home, or hey, I had to ride the bus from Vista to the transit station, from the transit station at Escondido to school.
And the bus didn't show, or something happened with the bus,
And so you start realizing our youngsters are dealing with a lot more than when we realize. And it's I'm sad to say, I'm not sad, I'm ashamed to say, why wouldn't it be anything different? That's what I grew up with. A dad that leaves you at a gas station, a mom who's living in a double or single white trailer, eating a TV dinner and giving me what's the TV dinner starts. She eats what's left over. So all these things I dealt with as a kid. Why would I remember that our same athletes in our program today are still dealing with the same stuff we dealt with 30 years ago?
We forget. And it's our own mechanism, or amygdala, right? That's protecting us, and it gets us to a place to where we park it. We're men, we compartmentalize, right? One of my favorite books is Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti, right? By Bill and Pam Farrell. And it's all about the differences on how we're built as people. And men compartmentalize things into little squares like waffles, right? And women everything is emotionally intertwined like a bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's
so
exactly
great. It's
the
a
way
great
it is.
analogy. I know the name.
You got to read that book.
Yeah, I haven't read the book. Yeah.
By the way, Bill
Yeah.
is my ghostwriter on my books coming up.
That's right. You mentioned
We
that.
start January 2024 on our homeownership book.
Oddly enough, Bill and Pam Farrell, they did a marriage retreat like years later. After it's one of the Billy Graham, the codes, what they call it. But I remember meeting them and just phenomenal speakers, phenomenal hearts for people, and obviously they love the Lord dearly.
Really good people.
Yeah. So
we forget.
Yeah, we
is
forget.
what happens, and we compartmentalize, and then we take our experience that we currently have and we try to project it on other people, and that's not what they're going through.
Yeah.
Right. The best thing you can do, and we talk about this a lot on this podcast, is ask questions.
That's right.
Of youth. Okay. Ask them questions. They come out of the womb programmed to answer questions. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Like even to this day,
Yeah.
if you have a toddler and they're throwing a fit, all you have to do is walk up to them, get in their face, and go, "What's wrong?" They look at you, they want to answer your question, and they completely forget. It interrupts their pattern. They completely forget why they were upset.
Yeah.
Right?
So good.
I mean, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the power of questions. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
It's interesting that I want to maybe park down that road of questions too. Like what I've discovered as a coach today, like if you ask even my own children at high school age, you ask them a yes or no question, they'll give you, "How was your day?" "Good." "Was it? Yeah, you have fun today?" "Yes." "Anything big tomorrow?" "No." Those questions they're quick to answer. What I've discovered is scale questions, and I tell my coaching staff and our staff here, we try to use what we call 4 at the door, and I think it's a really great tool. And I wish I came up with it. I didn't. I stole it from another coach. So
it's okay.
But I think of the word nets. You think of volleyball nets, basketball nets, but every kid needs to hear their name at a practice.
I agree.
So instead of saying, "Hey, number 25," or "Hey, QB1," "Hey, Travis, come see me real quick, buddy." So name. They need eye contact. Like this whole interview, you've been just dialed in, looking at me, making me feel like everything I'm saying is worth value. That eye contact is so important. So name, eye contact, and a touch. Every kid needs a pat on the helmet, a high five, a side hug, whatever it is, just to know that you're with them. And then the questions. S for nets, right? Scale question. I'll ask a player, I'll say, "Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was school today?" And they'll say, "Well, it was a 5. I'll say, "What was a 5? And they'll say, "Well, because I didn't do good on my algebra test today." Well, that gives me information as tomorrow. "Hey, how's algebra going for you?
Right.
When's your next test? How do you think you're going to do on it?"
Right.
Then all of a sudden,
How are you going to correct this?
that's right.
Right.
So
What
question.
do you have in place?
That's right.
Yeah.
So that we got 4 at the door. So asking those 4 questions, name, eye contact, touch, and scale question. Yeah, I have that 4 at the door experience with every athlete on the field. Especially when we have 90 kids on the field, one coach. When there's 13 kids, I could do all 13. Right? Now as it gotten 90 kids, you have to have every coach take their 10 kids and do that 4 at the door with them.
Yeah, I
but
agree.
every kid feels seen, and that's why I think we went from 13 to 90.
Yeah.
97.
Well, you're a big reason why. And just so you know, I'm making eye contact with you because I couldn't value this time more if I tried. So you know that, right?
Yeah.
So when you are from where you came to where you are now, right? So you started coaching, head coaching at, was it Classical?
Classical, my first year head
Okay,
coach.
so Classical Academy, just so people know, is a charter school here in Escondido.
Yes.
And they're kind of our crosstown rival.
Yes.
Kind of, right? And when you took
can
over,
I pause you on that?
Sure, of course.
That's one of my heart passions. Like I think, and this is just my heart. So what God's called me to do, and it's very clear, it's been very simple, is to coach the hearts of athletes, the families in this community of Escondido. So when I hear the word, they're your enemy or they're your rival, and I know you say enemy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no. But you hear people say, "Oh, you're going to beat your enemy, your rival down the street." I even had, the colleague at the other school, "Hey, if you go to Charter, we're going to be your rivals." They said, actually, because my wife is still working there, "Your wife's going to be your rival." They're not my rivals. They're high school athletes, they're high school coaches, and they're dear image bearers of who God made them to be.
Oh, sure.
They're God's image bearers. So when I think of rivalry, actually I dislike that phrase, or I dislike that competition, because we want to build a community of unity here in Escondido, and that's the journey of Play as One, and that's where that started from. So yeah, I did get my start there. I think in God's, it'll be fascinating to watch what God's authorship of His story is, because it's really His story in our lives. it'd be interesting to see why he did what he did, because I never thought I would be a high school coach. I'm going into my 20th season as a coach now.
Yeah.
Never wanted to be a coach.
Yeah.
Never
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it. Yeah. And looking back at what he's writing his story, these chapters he's written, I'm going to give you a chance to head coach at this community here. Now I'm going to give you a chance to head coach at this community here. By coaching at both communities, it's given me more opportunities to impact Escondido through God's love. And really, this is simply as this, to provide opportunities for people to experience who God is and watch God do the work. Because we can't save anybody. We can't do anything. We can't earn their way into heaven. It's only God's grace and mercy. But my job is pretty simple. Love them, love their families, love Escondido, and give them experience who God is, and watch God do the work.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something else.
Yeah,
okay?
please.
And I think this is important for you to understand. I've been here a while. Okay.
Yeah.
My children went to school here.
Not to brag on it, but your legacy on this. When I came in my first year, they said, "Hey, Mike Litton just moved back from Florida. He's got to be your voice of the Tigers." I'm like, "Great, I don't have a voice of the Tigers."
Right.
And they're like, "Mike's your guy." Yeah,
Well,
you're legendary.
That's very kind.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I have been here a long time. Okay. And yes, I did go to Tampa and sell new homes for 9 months.
Yeah.
But I came back, and when I came back, immediately people were like, "Okay, you're going to do this again, right?" You know.
Yeah.
And I of all the things that I missed, I missed being the voice of the White Tigers the most.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been here long enough to experience the culture before you got here and experience the culture after you got here. A big part of why there's 97 players in the program is you. And the fact that you are as effective as you are, not just winning, but effective in terms of how you manage the kids. So I'm somebody who wants to make a difference all the time. Okay, I'm constantly, it's on my heart. It's something, and I love to teach, and I love to coach, and I love everything about it. Okay, and I'm constantly asking you how I can help. Okay,
You do.
I'm constantly asking you how I can help because of you. Okay, and because of the difference that you've made here. It's hard to quantify. It's hard to quantify the difference. And it's hard to quantify how you have affected the children here. All of us want our kids and the kids that go to school here, all of us want them to be positively influenced. We want them to have the best of the best in terms of leaders. And you, my friend, are the best of the best. Hands down. So there you go. I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So,
and you're kind. And what I would say to that, Mike, is one, thank you for the encouragement, because it does bless me to hear that encouragement. But you and I both know that we can do nothing apart from Christ.
Absolutely.
And you and I both know that, you know, anything good that's in me, I've had the blessing of playing for a Rich Watkins in my career, a Denny Snyder in my career, Nick Rosetta in my career. So all these men that have been very transparent with who they are. All I'm doing is passing on. And if you look at our town of Escondido,
you're paying it forward.
Yeah, and this is stop here at Escondido, because this is where my heart's at. You know, there's been opportunities to go to other communities and coach in other places. But if you look at Chick Embry, who loved the hearts of kids.
I was just thinking of him because I interviewed Coach Denny Snyder for a previous podcast.
Yes.
And Chick Embry was the guy. That's who absolutely transformed Denny Snyder's life.
That's right.
I mean, and for you it was Rich Watkins, right? I mean, there's this legacy of these great men here.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.